Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're well. It's Alessio, and speaking to you today from Virginia in America. Now in this video, I want to address a very important question that many of you have been asking me. So the question is simply, what is the most likely scenario for Bitcoin? We're in a bear market in the stock market. So the first thing we have to admit is this, something quite important, which is that in the last major bear market that occurred in the world, that was in the year 2007, 2008, Bitcoin did not exist as a cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin has really been around from 2009. Therefore, we don't really know how Bitcoin behaves in a major stock market bear market. Okay, so we have to appreciate that there's a gap in our knowledge in that the last major bear market that occurred in stocks in the year 2007, 2008, because Bitcoin did not exist as a cryptocurrency at the time, therefore we don't really know how Bitcoin behaves in a bear market in stocks. So we have to first of all really appreciate that. However, even though we don't know how Bitcoin can behave in a bear market in stocks, I think we can have a general idea. And I'm going to give you two possible theories, two possible scenarios for Bitcoin, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to try and explain to you which one I think is more likely, which one is more probable. The first theory, which is favored by a lot of the Bitcoin bulls, is this, which is basically that because Bitcoin is similar to gold in many respects, therefore we can probably expect that Bitcoin can behave in the same way that gold behaved in the last major economic bear market, the major recession we had in 2007, 2008. So let me just explain this point. Many Bitcoin bulls say that Bitcoin has many similar characteristics to gold. Why? Because both gold and Bitcoin are anti-establishment currencies. For example, many folks who bought gold 10 years ago in the last recession are probably the same kind of people who buy Bitcoin today, because both gold and Bitcoin are the answer to essentially fiat worthless paper currency. For example, many governments around the world, they can print unlimited amounts of dollars. They can print unlimited amounts of euros and pounds, but they cannot do that with gold or Bitcoin. And that is true. Both gold and Bitcoin are finite in nature. You cannot just print any amount you want. So for example, with gold, you have to mine it into existence. The same thing is true with Bitcoin. You have to mine Bitcoin into existence by solving equations, for example. So the bottom line is that there are some similar characteristics between gold and Bitcoin, and therefore I think it's a good argument to say that we can expect Bitcoin to behave in a similar way that gold behaved in the last major bear market in stocks. And therefore many Bitcoin bulls say that therefore because gold went up in the last major economic recession of 2007, 2008, we can expect Bitcoin to go up too. Why? Because as many folks, for example, get scared of an economic recession and a bear market, they will pull their money out of stocks and put it into the safety of gold and Bitcoin. That's the argument. So the argument is that folks will see gold and Bitcoin as safety as opposed to the risk of stocks. Now, while this argument is certainly very interesting and sounds powerful, the only problem is that it's rather wrong. Why? Because in the last major economic bear market and recession that we had in 2007, 2008, gold did not go up. Gold dropped by 34% in the year 2008. Take a look at this chart. You will see that gold actually lost 1/3 of its value in the year 2008. And in fact, it bottomed around about near the year 2009. And yes, gold did eventually go to a major bull market. That's true. But the fact is that so did the stock market. The stock market also bottomed in the year 2009 and it rallied higher. The bottom line is that the argument that when the economy goes into a recession and a bear market, that therefore gold has to go up, that's simply not true. There's no evidence to back that up. So that's the first major problem with the theory that if gold goes up in an economic bear market or a recession, therefore so will Bitcoin. I think that certainly lacks evidence. But in any case, let's go to theory number two. So theory number two, I think, is far more likely and plausible. So let me explain that. Theory number two says that what will happen to Bitcoin in a bear market in stocks depends if the bear market results in a recession or not. Remember, not every bear market in stocks has to lead to a recession. There have been some bear markets in the past that have not led into a recession. So the first thing we have to establish is this. We have to see, first of all, if this bear market is going to lead into a recession, in a global economic recession or not. And that will determine what's going to happen to Bitcoin. Let me explain why. Because if we go into a recession, that means many companies around the world are probably going to go bankrupt and going to lay off workers as a result. That's going to increase unemployment. That's what happens in a recession. In a recession, we see unemployment numbers rising, consumer confidence dropping, and many companies and businesses around the world start to struggle and can go into bankruptcy. That, of course, means this, that in a recession, what usually happens is that governments and individuals start to essentially convert some of their assets into cash. For example, in the last major economic recession we had in the year 2007-2008, what happened was that many governments and individuals started to convert their gold into cash. Why? Very simple. Many businesses started failing and many governments started looking for cash. And the best way to look for cash is to convert your existing assets, like gold, into cash. That was one of the major reasons, by the way, why gold prices dropped in the year 2008. Simply because of the fact that gold also got sold, as with stocks as well. And if you think about that, that is unfortunately bad news for Bitcoin as well. Which means this: if the bear market in stocks leads to an economic recession, that means, when you think about it, that most individuals are probably going to be laid off work, unemployment rises as companies begin to fail. And just think about it for a second. What do most people do when they're out of work? They suddenly find themselves in survival mode. They have to find cash to survive, to pay the bills, to pay the rent and mortgage. And that means, unfortunately, as a result, they start looking for ways to find cash or to raise cash. For example, their gold assets. And I think perhaps in the next bear market that leads to a recession, perhaps they might start spending their Bitcoin, converting their Bitcoin into cash. And if you don't believe me, just put yourself in the same situation. Imagine putting yourself into a situation, the shoes of somebody who's just been laid off work, and he has to pay their bills, their rent and mortgage. What is that person more likely to do? Start buying more Bitcoin, or actually converting some of the money he has in his Bitcoin wallet into cash to survive? So guys, in a nutshell, what's going to happen to Bitcoin if the stock markets haven't entered a bear market? The answer is very simple. It all depends if we're entering a recession or not. Okay? So if the economy goes into a global recession, if the businesses start to fail, and if unemployment begins to rise, then unfortunately that's not good news for Bitcoin either. However, if the bear market does not result in a recession, then actually I think the prospects for Bitcoin can probably be okay. All right, guys, but one thing I just want to mention again before I continue is that, remember, we truly do not know how Bitcoin behaves in a bear market in stocks, because we have never had a situation that where Bitcoin has existed in a major economic recession or a bear market. So this is going to be the first time, if we enter an economic recession, it's going to be the first time we've been in that situation with Bitcoin. So that means we have to be open-minded about that issue, and let's see how truly Bitcoin is going to behave in that situation. And guys, let me know your own opinion, let me know your own views, and post your comments below. And thanks very much indeed. Bye for now.